Okay, mighty companions. Mighty companions. Mighty companions. Would you mind taking a deep breath and kind of bringing your energy into the present moment? I know you've been out there in the lab, and I'd like for you to invite your own mind to open. Because I'm not going to talk normal. I'm not going to talk like people talk in the world. I'm going to cover something that's very different from the way that we usually look at things. The point of doing this is not to talk the way the world talks, or to think the way the world thinks, or to do things the way the world does them. We're here for an hour and a half to hear outrageous things. Things that are very different from what we learned. And because it's so opposite to what we've learned, usually, it's just possible it could be true. Because it's so different from what we think. So the only rules to the class, the only guidelines to the way of mastery, the only guidelines to this class are: you need not believe it. You need not accept it. You need not even welcome what you hear tonight. Some of the things you hear tonight are going to be hard to believe, maybe. And some of the things that we hear tonight are going to be quite startling. Quite startling. You are not asked to judge the ideas at all. You are not asked to analyze the ideas at all. If you use the ideas, you will see that the ideas are true. The only thing that we're going to be focusing in on is the healing of the mind and the heart. We're going for a brand new perception. We're going for a brand new interpretation. We're going to hear some new things. We're going to get some very definite instructions about how to give yourself peace and how to allow yourself to be a conduit for the good, for the beautiful, and for the holy. We're going to learn how to be conduits for love, conduits for abundance, conduits for peace and joy and happiness. Is that worthwhile? Yes. The Course in Miracles says that the one thing that you should do is just say to yourself, what I know may not be all there is to know. What I know may not be all there is to know. What I know may not be all there is to know. What I know may not be all there is to know. What I know may not be all there is to know. And so I'm going to go through some of the way of the mastery, and then we're going to open it up for discussion and questions and to look at it another way, and then I'm going to go through some more. So I'm going to go about 10 minutes without stopping so that we can hear it. Thanks for coming out tonight. Especially when you consider that, you know, most of the stuff that I say, we're going to forget it. I'm always amazed. It blows my mind that people come back, because y'all know what I'm talking about, right? I say a good 95% of everything that we hear tonight. Most people don't come back because they don't even remember they came. It's so opposite to the way we normally think that it's hard to even remember to focus in on it. So I always like to acknowledge people who show up to any of these metaphysical New Thought classes, because you're literally being talked to as if you're not bodies, that you're spiritual beings having a human experience, and that there are consciousness and mind that is in the body and consciousness and mind that's outside the body. Because the body isn't who we are, it's the way that we're expressing ourselves right now. And so this book has the way our premise of being channeled, which means that those consciousness that are greater in their awareness, that part of us, actually use the person to try to make us aware of what's really going on inside of the illusion. And we've been hypnotized and mesmerized and programmed since the day we were born to believe things about ourselves that's not true, without realizing that we are creators and we create through our thoughts, feelings, emotions, and beliefs, and that your physical reality is a reflection of your own consciousness, and that no one's doing anything to you. You're just experiencing the outpicturing of your own beliefs. And no wonder there's not a lot of people that want to hear that on a regular basis, especially the more unhappy you are. The more unhappy you are, the less you want to hear you're the one that's doing it. Right? I mean, the political system is one of the greatest ways of watching wrong-mindedness operate in Technicolor IMAX, because everybody's waiting for somebody else to fix everything. Whoever's going to be elected is going to be the person that's going to fix everything. It's like watching a bunch of children waiting for a big parent to take care of them and not taking any real responsibility for their own experience. And so that's just a larger outpicturing of what we do individually. That's all we're seeing, just a mass expression of what we individually do. And so there's a massive choice that's being made right now between love and fear and separation and unity. If you'll observe and just watch dispassionately, you'll see that the only thing that's happening right now is there's one voice that's saying, let's go for separation, differences, projection, blame, attack. And then there's another voice that's saying, let's try to go for some unity and some joining and going beyond that. And that's just the reflection of what's going on in our own mind, really. So we're going to be on in the section called The Source of All Illusion, in part 2 of The Way of Mastery and The Way of Transformation. Those online, we're going to be on page 230, part 2, The Way of Transformation, The Source of All Illusion. And I'm going to start with the paragraph that says, the mind that is healed, which is on page 231. The mind that is healed. And I'm going to go slow so that we can kind of hear the instructions that we're being given. It says, the mind that is healed and rests in surrender looks out upon an innocent world that has been touched by its blessing of forgiveness. So at the point that, so that means that at the point that a mind is healed, then they're looking out on the world and they're seeing the world as innocent. And they're looking at a world that's been touched by its blessing of forgiveness. So when my mind is healed, I will look at you as innocent, and I will see you as touched by my blessing of forgiveness. When your mind is healed, you'll look out at your world as innocent, and you'll look at it as being touched by your blessing of forgiveness. And that forgiveness is simply a step in which that mind recognizes that the world it had thought was there was nothing more than its own mental creation. So forgiveness is not overlooking what you think someone did to you. Forgiveness is recognizing that whatever you're looking at, you're recognizing it's your own mental creation because you're the one that's interpreting it. So forgiveness is not overlooking what you think someone did to you. Forgiveness is not overlooking what you think someone did to you. Forgiveness is not overlooking what you think somebody has done to you. Forgiveness is recognizing that you're looking at your own mental creations. And then you smile and you laugh and you see. We talked about that last week, that when you're seeing correctly, there are 3 things that are going down, right? It says we smile and we laugh. and we see. So ask yourself, how many times did you smile today? How many times did you laugh today? And how many times did you see the world as innocent today? And how many times today were you bitching and moaning? Okay, I see the answer. Okay. All right. By the way, this class is rated adult. Okay. All right. I know that's a frightening thought, is to be in a class full of adults talking like adults. So then it goes on and says, and that all events that have arisen, said that you smile and you laugh and you see. What do you smile, laugh, and see? He says, well, you smile and laugh and see that the world has held no power. And that all events that have arisen, all interpretation of events, have been generated from within the kingdom of your mind, which is the one place that it is given you to assume responsibility for as your domain. So the one thing that all of us have is our domain that we're totally responsible for is what? Our own mind. Your mind is your kingdom. Your mind is your kingdom. You're a control freak? You want to be in control? Well, guess what? You've been given something that you can be totally in control of. Your mind. The problem is, I've been spending my life trying to be in control of your mind. I've been using all my mental energy to try to get the people around me to think and act the way I want them to act. So actually, I haven't been using my power to control my mind. I've been using my mind to try to figure out how I can control your minds. And so the mind that has been healed of illusion, he says, has been healed of all illusion. So you're not really healed until you're free of all fear, all separation, all guilt, and all anger, and all sense of separation from source. So I'm still a work in progress, because I know I haven't let go of all of my anger, fear, and guilt. Yep. Okay? And while time and space seem to last, the last outpicturing of a tiny mad idea. He says that the last outpicturing of a tiny mad idea is called the physical body. The physical body is a tiny mad idea. That's interesting. The physical body is a tiny mad idea. That we're unlimited spiritual beings, and we've decided to squeeze ourselves into something that's this small. So that's a tiny mad idea.
I'm sorry, what is that again?
It's saying the last outpicturing of the tiny mad idea is called the physical body. Tiny.
Tiny. Oh,
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
Yeah.
I'm not hearing
okay.
tiny.
Yeah. Well, you're doing telepathy because you're hearing Southern black men. That's a slightly different way of listening there.
Oh, right.
Okay. That's right. They're from the South. It's tiny. Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah. So that's okay. I don't mind interpreting. Okay. So the last outpicturing of a tiny mad idea called the physical body can be given over to something else, can be transformed. So what does it mean to transform the physical body? It means to turn it into a simple communication device that no longer communicates separation and judgment. So you transform your body and you heal your body and you allow your body to be healthy by no longer using your body to judge everything around you and to make yourself feel separate from everything around you. But rather, you're using your body for forgiveness, which means you're using your body for innocence. So when you use your body for innocence, you're transforming it. When you use your body for forgiveness, which is correct perception, you're transforming your body. So for 90 minutes, we are actually transforming our bodies. And so your body becomes nothing. It's picked up and used only in those ways that can speak, gesture, move, and act, and make something in the world that touches the world with the blessing of good and the holy and the beautiful. So all of a sudden, my body isn't such a big deal in as much as I'm using it to transform, and I'm using my body to transform when I'm no longer using my body for separation and judgment. And do you know when you're not using your body for separation and judgment, that's forgiveness and innocence. And then you're just using it so that it can bless the world with the good, the holy, and the beautiful. It is so difficult to get people to believe that all the things that they worry about in the world would be healed if they did this. Mm-hmm. That is the single most difficult point to get across, is that if you put your focus on just what it just said all the stuff that you're wanting to get handled so that you can start doing this would get handled. You know what I'm saying? After I take care of my money problems, after I take care of my relationship problems, after I take care of my job problems, after I take care of my health problems, after I get my body together, after I get rich, then I'm going to focus on my spiritual path. After I get my child handled, after I get everything handled, my child care, after I get everything in the world handled, then I'm going to focus on my spirit. Very few people make their spiritual practice more important than everything else.
So,
right?
So we got it all backwards.
We got it absolutely backwards. We got the cart before the horse. And there's nothing more difficult than to get people to get that everything they're worried about it in direct proportion to which they are not surrendered to the higher power within themselves.
Amen.
It's not until we heal our sense of separation from the source that anything that you're going through is going to get solved. There is nothing that you're going through that's going to get solved by your plans. Period. The only reason why your plans seem to work is at some level you're allowing your higher self to work through your plans. So, and what is the plan? He said, well, don't break it down. The plan is judgment and separation. We just do it in our own way. But the plan is I'm going to be separate and I'm going to judge. And now I'm going to use my body for the good, the beautiful, and the holy. He says, because this is simply the truth, it must mean that where you perceive justification for anything less than peace, if you see justification for anything less than peace, it must mean that you've already decided in the deeper part of your mind to maintain this root or core misperception. What does that mean? It means just what it says. If I think there's justification for anything other than my peace, then I still want to keep the misperception of judgment and separation going. So when I'm not feeling peaceful, I'm experiencing my desire to keep judgment and separation going. He says you are still attempting to perceive yourself as having accomplished the impossible. So a person that believes they have less than peace is a person that believes they have accomplished the impossible. And do you know that the impossible is to see yourself as separate from the mind of God? So you think you've accomplished the impossible when you feel any justification for a lack of peace, because it means you think you've separated yourself from the mind of love. So if I'm upset right now, I should be telling people, you know what's going on with me right now? I really wanted to say it was what happened at work today. But the truth is I'm still perceiving myself as having accomplished the impossible. Most of the day, I thought of myself as being separate from the mind of God. My bank account proves that. My relationships that I'm unhappy in prove that I still think I'm separate from love. When that is my first response to any kind of lack of peace, that's when I can begin to believe I'm getting what I'm being taught. But if I say anything other than it's a God problem, then I'm still caught up in the illusion and I really haven't changed my mind yet. I'll say that again. If the first thing that comes to your mind is anything other than your sense of separation with God is still going, when you say you got a problem, then you really haven't accepted what the real problem is, and so the problem cannot be solved. It'll just change appearance and come up in another way. As soon as you get your money problem solved, then your relationship goes to hell. As soon as you get your relationship fixed, then they tell you got 2 months to live. Then as soon as you have a miraculous healing, they lay you off. Y'all know what I'm talking about. Just as soon as you think you got one, how many times do we have to get that? I don't know about you, but I've been on the planet for a few years now, and I've noticed that ever since I was a child. That as soon as I think I got one thing solved, something else comes up. And I always act like that's the big one. You know, like that's the one. That if I could get that one solved, I would really be happy. Don't we do that every time? It'd be like, as soon as I get this done, then I know everything will be all right. And then as soon as you get it handled, or spirit handles it, you'll come up with the next thing, and the next thing, and the next thing that you wish were different for you to be happy. So he's saying to us that the mind that is surrendered is a mind that looks upon all things and then quietly says within itself, there has only been God. I am created of God. The source of my being, the source of my reality, rest and surrender into that which is God and that which is God alone. So how can you tell when you have a surrendered mind? You would be saying something like, there's only been God, I'm created of God, the source of my being, the source of my reality, rest and surrender into that. Okay. Questions, comments, sharing.
When I think about what you just said about the reality is, the main problem is separation from God. There's a line that comes out of a movie called The Devil Wears Prada.
Mm-hmm.
Meryl Streep, I loved her. She says, details of your incompetence are simply not interesting.
That's right.
So when you go into detail about all your problems, it's like, there's only one problem. And everything else is a mere detail.
That's right.
And quite frankly, it's not interesting. Let's deal with the real deal. Separation
Thank you.
from God.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Thank you. It's not until I hear someone say to me that the problem is that they're separate from source. In my mind, I'm not going to say anything because it's not my place to say anything. But I still know they want to keep going through whatever it is they're going through. And so my job is to remember that they're joined with God for them, even though they're still insisting in keeping their pattern going. Because if you say your problem is anything other than being separated from source, you know you're still determined to keep the situation going. That's how you know. That's how you know. Because everybody thinks it's something else but that. So many people think it's something else but that. Mm-hmm. Yes.
Well, on my spiritual path, what I've realized through time is that we're not only fighting the mind, it's also the superego, the ego that tells us, you know, you can't do this because if you do, you'll fail, or you're not good enough, you're not, you know, worthy of this love. Whatever that voice is that you've adapted to through your belief systems as children, or, you know, traumas, whatever's happened to you in your life that's created those ideas and thoughts and beliefs, I think is the main thing that keeps us separated. That's
right.
my opinion.
Right, which is exactly what he just got to saying, in total agreement with what you're saying, is that we have learnings, we have programmings, we have things that tell us that we're separate from God, separate from source, separate from love, which we would call our story. Mm-hmm. And that's the ego. That's what's defined as the ego. It's that voice that's constantly telling us that kind of stuff that you just got through saying. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Mm-hmm.
So if you can recognize it and catch it and go, wait a minute, this is what it is. I mean, just observing it and knowing that, okay, and stop yourself from buying into it. Right there is a good, you know, good way to, that's what I try to do, is just listen to myself and go, oh, wait a minute, it's that again, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And then let go of it
Mm-hmm.
through either meditation or
Mm-hmm.
whatever way you can,
Mm-hmm.
and have compassion.
Mm-hmm.
Compassion really helps too. For
Absolutely.
yourself.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Joining with Source is, I look upon the past year of my life and just understanding what that is has been the thing that I've really been dedicated myself to learning about. And what has helped me from the course is, you know, tell me every morning is to stop myself, like you were saying, your thoughts, to stop myself and think about, okay, what are all of these false idols that I'm carrying, which are these problems, and to lay those aside and ask the question of, you know, tell me where to go, what to say, who to say it to, and what to do. And I'm not sure, is it the prayer? What is the part of the course that gives the whole like meditation on joining with Source? But
There's so many.
Just
so many in
just
there.
doing that meditation and just laying all of that stuff aside,
Mm-hmm.
and putting myself and putting myself in that place of love. And, you know, it's just it's a practice. It's so ingrained in us. And
Absolutely, absolutely. And the thing of it is, we're all receiving the truth, and then we all have our own individual curriculum about how we play that out.
yeah.
You know, and so just keep in mind that the way of mastery is another way of receiving an answer to let go of that, and that what we're hearing tonight through this, and it's important that we're in a way of mastery class. So therefore, what those of us who come on a regular basis are trying to do is hear what it's saying to us about the things that we could do to bring about the change. You see what I'm saying? Because what's happening, most of us haven't heard it. The way of mastery. Most of us have our own different things that we've studied that's equally valuable, but it's not the way of mastery. And this is what we come together, like, to hear what it's saying and see if it's something that it's saying that I could use and resonate to. And because you follow what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah. And so when we listen to it, one of the things that would be really helpful is to try to say, what did I just hear it say that I can apply? What did I just hear it say? What did we just hear? See, because that's why we're here.
Peace.
We heard it say basically that whenever we're not feeling peace, it's because we think we've separated ourselves from the mind of God. And that if we are surrendered, then we would be saying to ourselves that there's only been God, I'm created of that. And the only issue is I need to allow myself to heal any blocks that I have between me and the Creator. Because there's a stage where we still can get obsessed with the idea that we're going to fix ourselves and we're going to heal ourselves. And what this is trying to do is to get us to the point that we'll finally start surrendering to that which created us and become a conduit for it to do the healing and it to do the correction of perception. We're actually trying to allow it to function through us, which is different from me fixing myself. That's a totally different perspective. From me fixing myself to me allowing myself to be healed, to me allowing myself to be used. And that's the part that our ego, even our spiritual ego, gets really upset about, because that's still asking us not to be in charge of our own healing process and to allow something greater than us. It's almost like going to the doctor and you not letting him do his job at all. And you went to the doctor, but you're going to tell the doctor exactly what to do in the healing process, even though you've never done a surgery in your life. Mm-hmm. But actually what most people do is they try to find a doctor they trust, and then they make the choice to allow that doctor to do its thing. And that's where you're in control. That's you're the leader. It's like when you're on a safari. You may have a guide, but you're still the one in charge of it, but you're trusting that the guide knows the way through the jungle. So you don't go, because I'm in charge of the safari and I know nothing about Africa, I'm still going to be the one that's guiding us. You say, well, who knows? That's what I'm going to allow to guide. So that's hard for us. It's hard for us. There's a line in the Course of Love I think is great where he says, it's very difficult for adults to receive answers that they don't think of, even if the answer would solve everything that they're going through. So in adults, you got to get past the barrier of helping them when it means you're going to give them a solution they didn't think of. Do you know that? It's very difficult for adults to accept any answer that's coming from anybody else that they didn't think of. Very difficult. Even more difficult, I think, with the male ego. Because we even more programmed that we should be the ones that's in charge and in control and know exactly what to do, and the one that's the leader. So even for a male, for me to get in a surrendered position to God was a very interesting challenge to go through. To go, okay, I'm going to listen to some wisdom that's greater than what I'm thinking of, because The definition of an adult is, can I be autonomous, self-sufficient, and do everything on my own? That's the definition of an adult according to the Course. But it's funny, but it also says that's the definition of the ego. The same definition we use for an adult is the same definition that the Course in Miracles uses for the ego. The part of us that thinks it's on its own, self-sufficient, has to handle everything by itself. Anybody else?
That makes total sense.
Yeah. That's one thing I appreciate about a lot of evangelicals, even if I don't always agree with their perception of what God is. I really admire their ability to surrender to God. Where if you really see a real one that's still loving, they have a faith and spirit that I almost never see in those of us who see ourselves as New Thought, New Age, and progressive. It's almost amazing that they actually believe. They actually relax in that belief. I know I just lost my job today, and I just heard that my child has something going on, but I know the Lord's going to make a way. That's the way my grandmother talked to me, whose parents was a slave. That's the way my elders talked to me when I was coming. I know right now it seems like this is happening, but you just got to love people as yourself and know that the Lord is going to guide you. And they would rest in that, which modern man and woman very seldom do at all. They never rest in God. They say, I am God. And then they take that to mean they've still got to figure it all out as God. What we really are is a part of God, no doubt about it. We are an extension of that which created us. But our ego isn't God. The part of us that doesn't know what's going to happen an hour from now, that part isn't God. The part that's trying to figure everything out isn't God. God wouldn't be figuring anything out. Your divine self knows. We just need to get rid of the blocks to hearing it. It's in us. Deep. So I really want to join with more and more people who want to do what he says, get rid of the sense of separation from the mind of God. And they know that that's the problem, and they know that they need to get past that block, and they're committed to getting past that block. That's what I want. That's what I want to join with. That's how I want to use my classes more than any other way. That's why I love the Course in Miracles and the Way of Mastery, because all of those are spiritually God-centered, get in touch with your higher power teachings. They are not another self-help book where we are being taught how to be in control of what we don't know. And it drives the ego bananas, including mine. As a part of me don't like nothing I say, any more than there's a part of you that thinks you're not worthy. Just like you were saying, there's a part of us, there's a voice that thinks we don't deserve any joy. That punishes us through constant worry. Don't you know constant worry is a form of punishment? Because it doesn't feel, it feels like crap. So it's just another way of punishing yourself all the time.
Surrender and patience.
Yeah. Well, he says patience is being certain of the outcome. I would be patient if I really believed the Holy Spirit, the divine, was really in charge of my life and in control. I wouldn't be impatient. My impatience is coming out of my lack of faith. And it's also coming from me believing I know what's best for me.
Or it could be self-will.
Yeah, and just keep in mind, whatever I'm saying, and I want to emphasize this, whatever I'm saying is just one perspective. There's always other ways to look at it beside what I'm saying. Always. So, I'm glad. I'm actually glad. So, the mind that is surrendered, he says, yet walks in your world as long as the body lasts. The mind that is surrendered, he says, is often completely unrecognized by others around it. So the most conscious beings walking the earth are most unrecognized. The most conscious beings walking the earth are most unrecognized by others. And for others, are just looking at a body. And so therefore they assume there is an individual, an ego, a separate being within it as that body. So when the mind is surrendered, he says you could say that body walks as an empty shell and is merely waiting to be informed by the love of God. When the love of God does not inform you or ask you to move and take action, then simply rest and do nothing. So a conscious being is a being who is just waiting for guidance and instruction. It's not the being that's making up what to do out of fear and out of a sense of lack. It's a person that is asking their higher self, what do you want me to do? Where do you want me to go? What do you want me to say? Who do you want me to say it to? They're always asking for guidance. In the Course it says, we make up our mind and then we ask God what to do. Mm-hmm. We already make up our mind about what we think is best for us. He said, then we ask Spirit what to do. We don't ask Spirit what to do at the beginning. We ask Spirit what to do after we've made up what we want. Does that sound familiar? Mm-hmm. Yeah, I say being the president of a company is going to make me happy, okay? And then I ask God how to do it. I don't go, what do you want me to do, God? I decide what I want to do. And then I ask Spirit to make it happen. So actually, I'm treating God like God is a genie. Yeah, I'm treating God like God. It's like the 3 wishes thing. Most people get into metaphysics and New Thought, right? The Secret and all that. They think that being conscious is you just coming up with what you think you want, and then God's job is to give it to you. And that's not the way it works. If you had a little baby 2 years old or less, and it said, I would be really happy with a big, shiny, sharp pair of scissors. It would make me so happy. As a parent, would you give it to the child? Heck no. No, you don't care how much. What's the child going to do? Scream and shout, right? At what point could the child scream and shout that you would give him the scissors? Never. That's what's happening to us. All that stuff that we scream and shout that we think we want, that's a big shiny scissors relationship and a big shiny scissors job and a big shiny scissors, you know what I'm saying? Oh, I gotta have him. I gotta have her. I gotta have that. That's us being like the baby with the scissors who don't really know what would really make them safe and happy, being mad at the universe that loves us because it won't give us that scissor no matter how much we want it. So maybe the thing that you've been wanting for the longest that hasn't happened, that's your personal pair of scissors. Just saying. Especially if it's the thing you've been asking for the longest and it looks like it's not showing up. It would have to be something about that you would probably use to hurt yourself. Or you're not seeing it correctly in some way. There's a lesson in the Course in Miracles that says, I do not know my own best interests. I do not perceive my own best interests. I don't know what anything is for. That makes so much sense to me now. So I thank God for everything that I've ever asked for that I never received. I'm grateful to you, God, for every person I thought I wanted that I didn't get, every job I thought I wanted that I didn't get, every pleasure that I thought I wanted that I didn't get. Thank you for being so in control of my experience and loving me so much that you didn't give me something that wasn't for my own best interest, no matter how much I thought I wanted it. So now I don't have to feel like I lost anything. So that's the end of my sadness. Because I'm sad because I thought there was something that was good for me that didn't show up. Relationships would be great to apply that to. Be grateful to the person that walked out on you. And be grateful to the person that stayed. Both of them blessed you. Haven't you ever had friends that looked like they were always attracted to somebody that was the worst choice that you could possibly imagine, and they just couldn't help it? Have you been that way? Have you ever been attracted to somebody that you knew that you didn't feel was right for you, but you just couldn't let go?
Never.
I know y'all looking at me like I'm talking about something that you don't know about. You know? Yeah. But did you notice also that as you begin to study more, meditate more, read more, love yourself more, that you just naturally found yourself not being as attracted to something that you felt that wasn't truly valuing you and appreciating you? That the more you appreciate yourself, the more you won't allow yourself to be misused or judged or attacked. It seems to happen naturally with self-love. You don't have to make yourself say no when you start to love yourself more. That's the advantage of what we're doing. You just get to the point that you simply won't enter into painful relationships and situations because you love yourself too much for that. And there's no one easier to recognize than an unconscious person as you become conscious. They're the easiest person in the world. 5-minute conversation, you'll know. Then if you choose to deal with them anyway, take responsibility for it and don't blame them for the experience because you knew better in the first place. You knew better. Why? Because they wouldn't represent anything you said you wanted. To me, this is good news. It's good news. It's good news. Then it goes on to say this is why the final state of awakening is incomprehensible in the languages of your world, since your languages are based on the very thought of separation itself. The way we even communicate with each other separates us. I'm a black guy, you're a white guy. You're a white woman, I'm a black woman. I'm older, you're younger. It's like everything about our language makes us think that we're separate. I'm so sick of the race stuff. To me, the part of me that's caught up in my racial self is the stupidest part of me that exists. I don't think anything stupid here is more stupid than the racist parts of my mind. Because it's my mind that I'm looking at. It's all my consciousness. There's one of us here. What could be more stupid than not liking somebody because of the color of their skin? That's the stupidest thing ever. Can you get more stupid than that? Yes. But just think about that for a minute. I walk in the door, you don't like me because I have brown skin. I was such a racist in my past life that I was born black in the South in the 50s. That's why. I couldn't have been born in a racist environment unless I was one. And the reason why we don't get past it is nobody's a racist. It's always somebody else. So how are you going to ever get rid of anything that you're not willing to acknowledge is in your own mind that needs to be transcended? I'm not going to be a good partner in a relationship until I admit I'm a lousy partner in a relationship. I'm not going to have abundance until I realize I have a lot of lack thoughts and lack thinking that needs to be transcended. We got to stop looking at ourselves as these innocent victims of everything that happens to us, as if we have nothing to do with what's going on. And I'm saying this because I need to remember this so bad right now. That's why I'm all emotional. Because I'm seeing so much of the insanity of separation right now. Everywhere that you look on TV, everything is, God, I got to change my mind. Notice I'm saying I have to change my mind. You hear me saying you do. You having to change your mind for me to be happy is the slow way to do it. If I want to make it take a long time, then I'll be about you changing your mind. I'm going to change mine. It's just one man. Any of us can do it for all of us. Any of us could do it for all of us if we won. That's why when we speak of peace, we speak of that peace which is beyond all understanding. For the peace that you can understand in the languages of your world is conditional peace. Well, what are you saying? Well, he's saying any peace that we understand isn't the real deal. Because all the peace, he says, we understand is conditional peace. I'll be peaceful when I lose 10 pounds. I'll be peaceful when I get a brand new apartment. I'll be peaceful when I get a flat screen. I'll be peaceful when I have the best sex life in the world. You see, all of our peace, he says, is conditional. It's always conditional on something that needs to change, right? So he says, the kind you create when two warring nations' leaders sit down in suits and ties and forget the death count and the destroyed villages, and they sign some document with a pen. They put on a front and smile for the pictures, and then they assume and teach everybody else to assume that now there is peace. Then each goes back and secretly continues to build weapons of defense against the attack sure to come from the one still perceived as enemy. Peace cannot be bargained for. That's the same as saying love cannot be bargained for. Freedom cannot be bargained for. It is not the result of compromise. Your peace will not come from compromising. That's different. Your peace will not come from compromising. What does that mean? I will not be in a relationship with the person that's attacking me. I will not compromise on that. Period.
Seems like we're taught, though, that you're supposed to compromise in relationships,
And
right?
and just look at them. Look at the result of being in a world of people who compromise in relationships. Compromise is just accepting a little of what you want. So when it's talking about compromise, it's not just talking about, well, you know, we'll compromise on who you watches this particular TV show. I hope we understand that we're not talking about that level. We're talking about the level of compromising what your truth is. Don't compromise about who you are. We're not talking about you wash dishes tonight and I wash them tomorrow night. We're not talking about that level of compromise. That doesn't matter. Dishes don't even exist and you don't either. So it's not really what it's talking about. I will not compromise. I want to be at the point that I will not compromise about the idea that I'm responsible for what I see. I won't compromise about I'm the one that's giving it all the meaning. I won't compromise. See what I'm saying? We won't compromise about love is what you are, and that's all you deserve. That kind of compromise. Right? Then he says it. Peace comes only when any man surrenders unconditionally the dream of the dreamer itself, so that there is only God and God's creation. What does that mean? Well, we've shared with you before that creation is one, the Christ mind, and that mind, the Christ mind, the love mind, the truth mind, that's what that means. That mind is not in the body. The Christ mind isn't in the body. What's in the body is the ego. It's the ego that looks out through the eyes of the body, because it's the ego that thinks we're separate. And let's face it, we do. Let's face it, we do. We do think we're separate, right?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. All of us are sitting up here thinking we are different people in bodies talking to each other about being one. Because I don't look at you as myself yet. Really, I'm practicing. I'm practicing letting go of that, of seeing you as separate. If you went back there and you went to the bathroom and I went in there with you, you'd be ready to call the police. You don't see me as you. Okay? There's so many little ways that you can see that that's true. The whole idea of privacy, private thoughts, secrets, not sharing. Some people you feel close to, some people you don't. That means we see each other as separate. We do, right? So that's okay. We just need to know that we do have a way to go, and we need to be open to seeing at another level. It doesn't mean we're bad. It just means we're deluded. Mm-hmm.
When we become aware of the fact that we're seeing ourselves as separate, and we want to work through changing that, what's the best way to do that without, causing?
It's everything we've been talking about. It's saying I got a sense of separation from God. I'm the one that's giving myself the feeling that I'm having about this. One of the best ways is to be quiet.
when you're with the person? Or
If you're not seeing me in a loving way, and I'm not really physically doing anything to you,
Right.
then you just need to be quiet. You know what I'm saying? If you're upset and you're angry, but I'm not doing anything to you, you're just projecting what you think I've done to you.
Right.
Right? And because you're the one that's upset, you're the one that's angry, because anger comes from projection.
Yeah, I'm the one who's come up with the attitude.
Yeah, you're the one that's, see, you'll get to the point on the spiritual path that as soon as you're upset, you'll go, I have a misperception,
Right.
and I need another way of looking at it, so it don't have nothing to do with me, especially if I'm not physically doing anything to you. Most of us are upset about people who aren't physically doing anything to us.
Right.
We just have an agenda that they're not acting out. And we're mad at them because they're not doing it. But they're not actually doing anything wrong just because they're not doing what you want them to do. And it's certainly your happiness isn't dependent on them doing what you want them to do.
Well, at that point, they're kind of true to themselves then. I mean, if they aren't, and if they're not doing what you want to do, they're being true to themselves and you're just not.
And there may be some cases they're doing exactly what you want them to do and they're being true to themselves, but they're just being who they are.
Right.
It just so happens the way that they're being in that moment fits your agenda, so you say you like them. Right? Because let's face it, right? When most people say that they're happy, all that means is the scripts that they've written for everything and everybody that day seemed like it turned out the way that they wanted it to. Right? And then they say, I'm happy. You go, what kind of day you had today? I had a good day. Everybody did everything that I thought I wanted them to do exactly like I wanted them to do it. So I'm really having it. That's the phoniest happiness that's ever been created. But that's the kind most people believe in. Don't we?
Until the next morning.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. That when you wake up, you realize every time you make your happiness dependent on somebody else's behavior, you're taking your power away. Every time I say I'm happy, if you act a certain way, I'm taking my power away. Every single time. Even if you tell me you'll do exactly what I want you to do, which is what we tell each other in relationships, right? Let's face it, in an average special relationship, that's exactly what we say to each other when we are in the honeymoon phase of the relationship, which is, whatever it is I can do to make you happy, that's what I want to do. You know you can count on it. That's what I want to do, whatever's going to make you happy. So I tell you I'm going to do whatever makes you happy. You believe that and you give your power away. And now your happiness is dependent on me doing it. What would happen if nobody did what you wanted them to do and you still had peace?
Wow.
That's what I'm shooting for. That's exactly what I'm telling you what Earl Purdy is working on. Earl Purdy is working on his happiness and having not a doggone thing to do with what any of y'all do or not do. I don't even have that script in my mind as a conscious goal anymore. I'm not even looking for anybody to please me consciously. And I got residue of that because I've been programmed and I know that. But I don't get up in the morning going, who is it that I can manifest who's going to give me what I want today? Because that's where you get jammed up every time.
Do you do that with yourself too?
I'm trying to take me off. I'm trying to take me off the hook too. I'm saying, not my will, but thine be done. God, what do you want me to do today? Spirit, what do you want me to do today? That's what I ask. Because all the stuff that's ever disappointed me, most of it was my idea. So certainly I don't want to keep going back to me. Right? I mean, that's the first person we go to is I call it my fantasies. Right? All of us make about fantasies. So yeah, I want to take me off the hook. For sure. But he said, remember he said in The Way of Mastery in one of the other chapters, he said, look at it more like, what would it be like to have $1 million? Just like you would go, what would it be like to eat some banana ice cream? It should be that same attitude. What would it be like to have my own business? That'd be interesting to see what that would be like. In other words, you would do it with that kind of attitude. Oh, what would it be like? That might be interesting. What would it be like to drive a Mercedes? But I'm certainly not going to be worried about if I don't drive one. See, that's what, it's not saying we can't enjoy the physical plane. That's why we're here. But what we do as an error, he says, is that we make it the measure of our value and who we are and our power and our happiness. And that's where we screw up every time. I went to this ball last Thursday night. It was I posted on Facebook. It was a trip. I went to the Queen of Hearts ball. I was asked to escort a good friend of mine, and it was a Colorado Ballet fundraiser. And I'd never been around that many people who did not have the issues around money. They may have some other issues, but it certainly wasn't paper strips and metal discs. Okay, that was not their issue. And of course, those of us who tend not to have that, we tell ourselves stuff like, well, they might be rich, but they're not really happy. They was happy as hell. They looked like they was happy. Because, don't y'all hear that a lot? Yeah. Every time, I call them the haters. They love to judge and condemn people that they think have material wealth, right? Which they don't know. They're telling the universe, don't give it to me, don't give it to me, don't give it to me, don't give it to me. That's what they're saying. Why? Because you're judging it. Obviously, you don't want it, you fear it, you're attacking it. And they'll be the brokest people complaining about not having no money. And they don't understand why. You're telling the universe, you're not open to that. Why? Because you're judging the part of yourself that has it, right? So anyway, it was just a trip to be in that environment, and everybody was just the opposite of everything I had been programmed to believe that they were going to be like. They were the friendliest people I ever been around. And everything was first class. Food's everywhere. Drink was everywhere. But it was all about raising money to help other people, basically, because when they said what they were raising it for was fantastic programs for poor people and kids who want the privilege, who need to be doing it. It was like, and so they were like, people were like going, okay, a dinner for two at so-and-so restaurant. Okay, what's the first bid? Who'll bid? $5,000. That was the bid. People going to their hands up. Like $5,000 for a dinner for two, because the money would go to help people, or $20,000, or $15,000. And I realized that they were giving huge amounts of money, which kind of made sense as to why they had it. And then it would bring up everything in me that had judgment, would be tempted to come up. And I realized that was just my own sense of lack and my own sense of shame. Now, but what I've learned is your peace doesn't have anything to do with that. It doesn't have anything to do with whether you got the money or don't have the money. That was the lesson. But, hey, what's wrong with having that experience? Because I'm telling you, I think somebody with a lot can give a lot. People who don't have nothing, they always gonna give when they have it. Right? I call them the future givers of America. Right? They're always gonna give when they have it. Just as soon as I have it, I'm gonna give it. And I'm just the opposite. When I think I'm the most broke is when I'll take somebody out to dinner or take somebody to the movie or buy something. And I do just the opposite of what my ego tells me to do whenever I think I'm going through lack. If I go to a party and I think people aren't being friendly, then I go up and start talking to somebody. You got to give what you think is lacking, because whatever is lacking is there because you're not giving it. So the brokest person in the room should be the most generous one, if they knew the truth. And that's the difference between a person that knows the truth and a person that doesn't. A person that knows the truth knows that you kickstart anything by giving. But when you don't know the truth, you say, I better hang on to the little that I have, because there's not enough. So you create more lack for yourself. And believe me, teaching for 35 years, mostly on a donation basis, I've learned a lot about trust. A lot. So I'm telling you, that relationship with God is the answer. That believing that you're sustained by the universe, believing you're sustained by spirit, that's the answer. Your ego would say, well, Earl, you need to try to open you a business that allow you to become a millionaire. See, that's me forgetting. No, I need to get rid of whatever blocks I have to the awareness of the abundance. That's my natural state as a child of God. That's what I need to work on. And then it might take the form of spirit saying, start this business over here. I'll be carrying out a plan. I won't be making one. But it'll look to everybody that's watching you as if you have come up with a plan, but you haven't. You're acting out the plan you were given. It's a difference. But to somebody watching you, they'll think you're doing your marketing plan, and you're advertising, and you're looking for the room, and you're looking for the place you're going to do it. To someone looking at you, they think you're planning. You're not planning at all. You're carrying out the plan that you're getting through your guidance. And they say that anything that Spirit is telling you to do, you'll feel inspired. And then it says the obstacles will be removed before you even get there. So there will be this flow and unfoldment about the whole thing. It shouldn't be a lot of hard work to do what God's telling you to do. It's a lot of hard work to do what you're telling you to do.
Mm-hmm.
That's what's the hard work, your plan. I went, whoa, that's deep. So, anybody want to say anything about anything?
I just agree with you. I mean, it's like, it really is when you really start surrendering and trusting and listening and being quiet and hearing what comes through. It's amazing what things happen. Just really major life changes.
Especially when you learn how to tell the difference between when you're listening to your ego and when you're listening to God within you. That's what these books are for, all of them, not just this book. They're to teach us the difference between the two voices. So that, have you ever been jammed up after you thought you were following your guidance? Right. That's because you didn't know how to tell the difference between when you were listening to your ego and when you were listening to spirit. And all these truth books, that's basically what they're teaching us. They're teaching us how to recognize the difference between how love operates and how fear operates. That's all they're doing. But most people think they don't need to learn it. They think they're going to just figure it out on their own. They're going to make it up as they go along, and they get jammed up every time.
Fear becomes pretty addicting.
Fear is a drug.
Yeah.
It's a drug. You can get addicted to it.
No, it's hard to let it go. It's like you think if you let it go, you're going to die.
Right. Exactly. That's a good point. That's exactly.
It's sort of what keeps. I don't want. No. It's what keeps me alive. It's like as long as I'm in this intense, hideous state of fear, I at least know I'm alive.
Thank you. Thank you. I mean, there's literally a section in the course that says that people think life is conflict, and so since people think life is conflict, then they keep conflict going to feel alive, and we say rest in peace. So we associate peace with death. So when people start to feel a lot of peace and happiness, they think they're going to be killed. They think they're going to die. They think a piano is going to fall on their head. They're looking for the shoe to drop. Y'all know, some of y'all know what I'm talking about. Like you really have a lot of stuff going good for a while, and you find you start to become afraid. Like this is too good. Something's got to go wrong. You see, and so that's a good point. We've been exactly taught just the opposite.
Well, that's sort of like I mean, we're this very Christian book, but it's sort of the martyrdom of Christianity.
Yeah.
That okay, I'm going to get through this, but there's just something worse coming that I'm going to have to try to get through, and there's some, and it's.
Well, if you think negatively, if you think something bad's going to happen all the time,
you're going to keep creating.
Well, and also, then you think there's nothing to disappoint you because you already think you're going to be disappointed anyway, and then when something good happens, it's pleasant. See what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's like, oh man, life sucks. Then all of a sudden you have a good day. But if you think life is going to be great all the time, then the ego says, well, you're just setting yourself up. You're gonna be disappointed to think you can feel joy and peace most of the time. But that's a very good point. There is a part of us that believes that conflict is living, and peace is death. Isn't that crazy when you hear it? You getting ready to say something, CJ?
I think this peace comes only when my mind surrenders unconditionally the dream of the dreamer itself, so that there's only God and God's creation. It doesn't say that I surrender the nightmare, right? It says that I surrender unconditionally the dream. And those dreams that we hold most treasured are part of that dream. And I think that so often we don't find peace because we don't want to have to surrender the nightmare and the dream.
Right.
Right?
Right.
If it was just surrendering the nightmare, that's how we define so often peace, is I will be happy to surrender my nightmares to the hands of God.
Right.
But I'm not so willing to surrender my treasured dreams and pleasures that are coming, right? So I'll give you my pain. I'll give you the pain in my knee, right? But I won't necessarily be willing to surrender the pleasure of the dance.
That's right. That's right. That's why he says the dreams that you love will hold you back as much as the dreams that you don't like, because sleep goes with both of them. If I'm dreaming that I'm in Paris, I'm still asleep. And if I'm dreaming I'm going through hell, I'm still asleep. That's what he's saying, that you have to reach a point that you want to wake up. Period. Yeah, exactly, and that's right. Well, that's why pleasure is a much better deceiver than pain is. So I'm gonna tell you what's gonna happen next. You're gonna start to have your dreams come true that you like, and they're gonna be the thing that'll make you not want to study more than anything ever, because you'll be so busy enjoying the pleasures of your little dream that you like, that you are mean to meditate, but you don't, and you're mean to study, but you just met the guy of your life, and he wants to take you here and here and here, or the woman of your life, and you got this new job, and it's taking you. In other words, you got to watch pleasure being as much of a delay and maneuver to waking up as pain.
I think it's more.
That's what I'm saying.
From my
No, that's what I'm saying. I think it's a lot more. People will come to a class when they have challenges that they want to overcome, much more than people who come to a class when it looks like their life is going good.
I mean, I think of like the masters, like Buddha. Leave that, like that's to emulate. Wow, I have everything. I have all of this opulence, yet my soul is telling me that there's something for me to awaken to. And I look at that story, and I mean, yeah.
But the Course says, and the Way of Master too, that you don't go from a nightmare to awakening. He says you go from the fearful dream to the happy dream to waking up, which I think is cool, right? So I go from being in this experience thinking I'm fearful and separate to being in this experience looking like I'm surrounded by love and peace and cool people, and then I wake up. I like that. I like that process. That's
so
cool.
Then you just, no matter what's happening, good, bad, or indifferent, you have to remember that your goal is the toy maker.
That's right. You got to remember that your goal is to get in touch with, remember who you truly are as a spiritual being. That's the ultimate. Because now you,
no matter how wonderful it appears to be a distraction.
Well, once you know you're the creator, what could be missing? What could be lacking? You know what I'm saying? So it's a difference between owning the candy factory and working for it. You know what I'm saying? We're not going to lose anything. We're going to be given what's beyond our wildest imagination in love and joy and happiness. To the point that what we call happiness now, we go, poof. It's nothing compared to what we would become aware of when we wake up. That's exciting. But in the meantime, it's not saying we put this down, we judge it, we hate it, we don't enjoy it. I mean, wow, we chose to be in bodies. We chose to pretend like we're separate. This could be fun if we remember who we are. It could be great. Yeah. Sacrifice is not being called for. This is not calling for sacrifice. That's the old thought system. We're not being asked to sacrifice. We're just being asked to allow.
Delight and be delighted.
Yes. Yes. Wouldn't it be great to be in relationships with people who wouldn't let you forget that? And that you're constantly witnessing to each other's value? Wow, that's where we headed. That's what I see you doing for me right now. Just through being here tonight, I'm experiencing that with you. I'm so grateful for you. You have no idea. Right. Anybody else?
I just wanted to say, like, I've been coming to this class since I was like 16, and like learning this stuff like as a young person. I feel like I absorb it a lot more than like she would. Like, I don't know, I just feel like I like see it happening even though like I'm not thinking about it. Like, it just goes into my brain. And it's really cool. I'm thankful for it.
Well, that gives me hope. Right, because I do believe that the younger people that are coming in here more awake because they have more that they know that they have to transform. So y'all have, and it's like you just want to be communicated with straight up. That's all it is. That's what I've seen in work. It's It's like we say we're not gonna give our kids the same bill of goods that we got, and we turn around and try to give them the exact same bill of goods that we got. And they're going, I ain't buying it. You're gonna have to be real with me. You're gonna have to tell me the truth. I'm not gonna accept anything but the truth. Again, that's what's happening in the political process, right? Why is it that people? What is the one thing that people say about Donald Trump who are supporting him? They say he's authentic. Whatever he is, that he's shown, like, that's him. The same thing they say about Bernie Sanders. What is it that they like about him? He seems like he's authentic. That doesn't mean that necessarily what they're saying is necessarily the truth, but they're showing up as who they are. And when somebody does that, that's what charisma is. People don't know that charisma is nothing but you being authentic. If you are being real and not the way you think society is telling you to be, you will be so magnetic to people it'll blow your mind. But if you're acting out all the programming that you got from the world and then you're judging yourself by that and you're not showing up as who you are, you don't have any magnetism because you don't even know who you are. But when you're being who you are, no one can resist you because you're authentic. Everybody responds to sincerity, even if it's sincerely insane. At least he's really crazy. You know what I'm saying? You can tell when you're around somebody. I have to remember that all the time as a so-called teacher. I'll be tempted to go, how would a teacher act? You know, how is a teacher supposed to stand up here and talk so that people will not be offended and everybody will like what I say and I don't push anybody's buttons? It's like, there's nothing charismatic about that at all. I would love to see who you all are beyond the facades that y'all do in the class. Because you know you don't act like this around your friends. You know you don't. We have our public image. Our representative is sitting here tonight. Everybody's representative is sitting here. And the representative is listening to me, and then it's telling you what it's hearing. That's the only thing that's happening. But the people you trust, the people you know, the people you feel safe with, they see a side of you that nobody else sees. That's why people love to have lovers. That's the reason. It's usually with that person, if you really feel safe, you will express yourself in ways that no one else sees. Just because of how you feel so safe with them and so connected. I want that with everybody. But I have to be it. That's the problem. Most people are waiting for somebody else to be it, and then they say they'll be it. Y'all show me I can trust you. Then I'll let y'all see my love. Prove it to me.
Can't prove that.
Ta-da! I'm gonna do 5 more minutes and then we're gonna finish up and then we'll come back and do a quick little review. Do y'all enjoy this class? Is it helpful? Okay, all right, I got to check in sometimes. All right, okay. All right, I have to check in because sometimes I don't know. Okay, thanks. Okay. Okay. I love this. He says, we have shared with you before that creation is one, the Christ man, and that man is not in the body. It is not a particular form. And certainly the mind of Christ, the mind of God, the mind of love does not belong to any personal identity. I was never the Christ, as though you are not. Like you, I was a temporary, I love this. When you're in the physical body, you are a temporary modification of eternal energy that hopefully has a good fashion sense.
Everything comes back.
Yeah. So you see somebody come in, you go, wow, what an awesome temporary modification of eternal energy you are, baby. You are a great outpicturing of a thought, a mental thought, held in mind, which learned to surrender the misperception of the dreamer and became informed only by the love mind, which is the Christ mind. Only that mind was present, and yet it could not be touched through the body. That is why my crucifixion had no effect on me whatsoever. The crucifixion merely sped up the process whereby the body was dissolved away as an idea. Wow. Wow. You're going to outlive your body. You're going to outlive your body. You are going to outlive your body. You're going to outlive your body. You are going to outlive your body. You're going to outlive your body. You're going to outlive your body. You are going to outlive your body. You're going to outlive your body. So if you didn't have a body, then what would be left? Your what? Consciousness. Your mind, right? Your heart. So does that suggest to us that whatever comes next is going to be more of a reflection of our mind and our heart and our consciousness than our body? So wouldn't it make more sense to build the kind of consciousness and mind that you want than to put all your attention on just the body and the attraction of the body and getting through the body? Because you can't take it with you, but you're going to take your consciousness with you, and your consciousness is going to create your next perceived reality. That's why I study this stuff like I do, because I want to have thoughts like this so that whenever I leave, I want some thoughts that's going to create some love and some freedom. Not all this fear and anger and hate and resentment and grievances and blame and judgment. If I leave here with all that stuff on my mind, that's what I'm going to recreate. And I'll be right back in some perceived reality that's crazy as hell. I want love, so I got to be it. And you are love. That's who you are. And be around people that remind you of that, because that's all you deserve. That's all you deserve. Period. All right?
All right.
All right.
Okay. Let's wrap it up here. Let's acknowledge us for hearing something this deep tonight, y'all. Y'all awesome. Whoa. All right. Well, let's do the financial expression of appreciation called the donation. I really appreciate you sharing. Those of you online, if you go to my website, earlpurdy.com, sign up for my contact list, and I send out links to these videos so that you can watch them again. And also, if you'd like to make a financial expression of appreciation, go to my website, earlpurdy.com, and I'm also available for one-on-one sessions. I'm available for one-on-one sessions through Skype, on the phone, and in person if you're in the Denver area, where I work with you in terms of applying these principles in your personal life. If you have some situation that you know you've been dealing with a long time and you're ready to let it go, then let's join on doing that. It's called a clarity session. Go to my website, it explains it. I want to thank all the people all over the world that I've been hearing from, and all the people in this room. I feel blessed beyond my wildest dreams. And you all are juicy and cute too. That's what I was saying just this morning. All right. One thing you heard tonight that you don't want to forget is
Surrender my dreams for creation.
surrender my dreams for creation. One thing you heard today that you don't mind sharing.
Is it pieces and bargained for?
It's right. Peace is not, it's not conditional. It's not a bargain. Thank you.
You have to give what you believe you're lacking.
That's right. You have to give the thing that you think you don't have to have it. Yeah. You have to give what you want to have. As a matter of fact, it says giving is asking. Like he says, we think asking is to say, I would like to have, let's say I like to have some money, and I'm asking for it. He says, that's not asking. Asking is giving. Because the law of the universe is whatever you give is what's going to come back to you, is what you're going to receive. So it's our giving that's actually asking. And if people realize that, they think twice about most of the stuff they're putting out. right? People don't hesitate to let you know they're angry, but they'll hold back their love all night long. Somebody will tell you what they're upset with you about a lot faster than they'll tell you what they appreciate about you. And then they wonder why there's so much anger in their life. It's because that's what you're giving. And so you're surrounded by angry people. But how many people are you going, I love you, I appreciate you, you're valuable to me, I see how wonderful you are. But in a minute we'll go, you know, you just upset me. You just did something I don't like. We'll do that in a minute, but we won't say I love you in a minute. And then we wonder why it's more the other than the love. That's why. It's not really that complicated. One thing I like to remember is
There's only been God.
there's only been God. There only is God. This is God playing with itself. We are God. It's all God. It's God pretending that it's many. That's awesome. That's awesome.
I'm gonna outlive my body.
You're going to outlive your body. That's right. You've done it more times than you have any idea how many times you've outlived your body. They tell me when you first leave your body, and we call it death, but when you first leave your body, I've seen it over and over again, the thing that freaks kind of attributes us to how quickly you become detached from it. Like you go, wow. Yeah. It's like all of a sudden you have none of the obsession with it that you had before. I read one book that says nobody at a funeral looking at the body with more wonder than the person that's supposed to be dead. That's deep, isn't it? Yeah, I'm gonna see which one of y'all gonna come. I'm gonna tell you, if you don't show up, I'm hunting you. And then you know that right now. Anybody else? Yes. What's your name?
Kate.
Kate. All right.
I really liked what you had to say about sincerity and how people show up authentic when they're sincere. And that really struck a chord in me. That I think that is just so powerful.
Yeah.
And so true.
It's so true.
So true.
So true. Thank you. Thanks for coming tonight.
You're welcome.
Substance is the will of God. Form is my plan to manifest it.
That's right. Substance is the will of God. Form is my plan to man. Remember, the healed man doesn't plan. The healed man carries out a plan that it receives through wisdom greater than its own.
I just want to say I'm so grateful that I can be here in Denver in your class every week. That the information I hear is just so powerful.
Thank you.
I just appreciate you so much.
Thank you.
I'm so grateful.
Thank you. Appreciate you too.
We're family too.
Yeah, I really do. I really appreciate you. Appreciate all of you. Love is appreciation. The Course says love is appreciation. So when somebody says they love you, then they should be saying that what it means I appreciate you. But we give them so many other meanings to it that when people say they love us, it scares us half to death, you know. Which you can kind of understand that. Let's face it, 90% of the pain that you've ever gone through has been through somebody that told you they love you. Not strangers. Strangers haven't done anything else compared to people that we think we know. Right? Think about it. Your whole life, how many times have strangers actually hurt you? And then think about how many people you've given yourself pain through that said they loved you, or they were close to you, or they knew you. That's deep. So when someone says they love us, it's understandable that we go, okay, what you want, what's up, you know. And that's fear and not love. Love is I appreciate you. I just want to see more of who you are. I wasn't kidding when I said that. I want to see more of who you are, who you really are. And so I have to be safe for you to do that. Right? Okay. Take a breath. There has only been God. There is only been God. You are created of God. God is the source of your being. God is the source of your reality. It is time for you to rest into God and God alone. You rest in God. You rest in God. We 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 rest in love. We rest in love. We rest in love. God is love. We rest in love. We rest in love. We rest in love. God is love. We rest in God. 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 We rest in love. We rest in love. We rest in love right now. Mighty companions, may the course be with you. I appreciate you so much. You're a blessing. You're just the best thing in the world. Get in the bookie, hugs are definitely extra available. Good.